I was looking through all the 2025 build announcements, and I saw something about REST APIs and API management for MCP servers, and I thought that was really interesting. Everybody has APIs. If there was a quick way to get an MCP server up and running, I was really interested. So I ran through the article. It's very quick. If you want to do this, I would suggest you create your API management resource now, because it's going to take 20, 30 minutes to create on the Azure side. And then come back. And if you don't have a really quick REST API already up on the platform, I'm going to go through mine really quick so you can see how you do it. So at the point the article is starting, you already have an API someplace, and you're just connecting it with API management. So I did create a really quick REST-based server. So I have a real quick, give me a song. It has nothing to do with Copilot or Visual Studio or writing code, but it is any generic API I might want to access through a tool in a MCP host. So here's my list of songs. Obviously, I must say something about song in order to trigger the tool. I do have one API. It's basically song. I do have very short OpenAPI JSON schema. I did ask Copilot to update all of the text so that the host would have an easier time triggering the tool. So that is, I don't know if that's necessary, but it does seem like having more meaningful information about songs would be helpful. And then I just deployed it with Azure Bicep. Nothing really interesting here. It's a straight up container app. And you can see the container app. Let's see here. What's the fastest way to get there? Oh, you do. When you eventually get your MCP going, you're going to need to augment the URL with a query string in order for the new MCP functionality to be available. So I think this is my container app. Let's see if that's right. Go look at where it deployed to. RG Song Servers, the resource group, RG Song Server, and my revision should be up. So if my MCP server does have any issues after it gets past the API gateway, this is where I would come to see them in the logs in the container app. So that's pretty much the deployment. So it's a container app. I deployed it with Azure Developer CLI and Bicep. I grabbed a generic infrastructure, which also happens to have Cosmos. That has nothing to do with this particular sample, but so that's just how I got my REST server up on container apps. So at that point, once the container app is deployed, I can test it out. So it returns one of the 3 songs that are hard-coded. I did make an HTTP file for the MCP server, but it never actually responds. So there's probably something wrong with it. You can see it's waiting down here over and over. So I'm going to go ahead and stop it. So once you have your server deployed on Azure Container Apps, then you need to go create your MCP server. So let's see, where is the up? Here it is. So I hooked up my server. I can't remember if I uploaded my schema. Yes, I did. I uploaded my APIM schema, which is here, and it already had my container app URL for it. So that's the only thing I changed from local to production. And then it gives me the ability to test it. I can get a random song. I can send it. And it returns me a random song. So that means my APIM layer is now working correctly. And then if you go back to the article, it actually has a couple of caveats in order to make this thing work. So you do have to be in this early gateway group. And that it did take, it might have taken more than 2 hours. I'm not sure. I left it overnight. So you definitely need to join that group. There's a few other things I had to do. What was it? I created it, I published it. It wasn't HTTP. Oh yes, I did need to use the URL to finally get, if you don't use the URL when you come over to Azure Portal, you're not actually going to see this MCP server setting here. So you do need to use the correct URL. You do need to be in the right group. And then you can, once you have your API exposed, so up here you've added your container app through your API, OpenAPI JSON, then you come down here and you add your MCP server. They're going to generate a URL for you, give you all the information you need. And then you need to add, well, you don't need to add, but I added a policy. And then configuration. It was a bunch of check boxes. There wasn't really too much to do there. So once you get that going, then you come back over to Visual Studio Code and you add a server, an HTTP server, enter the URL. Actually, I can go through this one more time. List servers. So it's going to ask you for a unique ID for your server. Just accept the default. It doesn't really matter. You put in your URL. And then you need to come in and configure your key. The key is the trick in order to be able to talk through APIM correctly. So if you go back to APIM, where are the keys? It's not right there. Oh, they call them subscriptions. The keys are called subscriptions. So this is the guy you want. So copy that, paste it here. That's the name of the subscription key. And once you have this configured, then you should be able to add your tool. So I've unchecked everything else. And you can see that my tool is checked down here. And then I'm going to open a new guy. And I'll close all of this. I don't really want it to have any more context than that. Let's make sure the tool is added. The tool is added. I'm going to say, give me a song. It's going to ask me if I want to use my tool. The tool actually worked. And that was the output. If I go in and, let's see, remove the tools key, you're going to see how that works in here visually. So if I just remove that, think I want to reset my cache. Okay, try it again. It's going to ask me if I want to use a tool. And then it's going to fail. Oh, that's interesting. It's exceeded. Yeah, that's right. Okay, I'm not sure. The green checkbox must mean the tool call worked, but the output indicates it failed. That's interesting. So that's pretty much getting an MCP server up on top of your API, which is super cool. It's awesome that I didn't have to write any of that.